Working on old cars, at some point you're gonna have to do some serious rust removal. But using manual rust removal techniques can be both time-consuming, expensive, and exhausting. To speed up my project, I'm gonna be experimenting with some non-invasive sanding techniques and to see what could remove rust and what could remove paint. For something that looked like it was lying on the bottom of the ocean for 100 years just a few days ago, this is looking pretty darn good. This is super cool. Look at that. No sanding, no dust, no crap in my lungs. My name is Trooper Max, and I'm restoring a car that's been off the road since 1977. But I've never done this before. I've taken the time to do my research, and I'm building the car of my dreams, hoping to inspire others to do the same. So we're back on our 72 Nova, and this time we got something quite unique in mind. So there's a lot of parts on a car like this that are kind of difficult to work with, and it's pretty difficult to know exactly what techniques are best for restoring them. And I think this time it's time to experiment. We got a whole bunch of different parts here. We're gonna go through and we're gonna see what is the best techniques. And as usual, because I've never done this before, it's all gonna be a surprise to see what exactly works best. So let's get started. The cowl vent is probably the item on this entire car that I have the least amount of confidence in. It is really, really thin. This thing is rusty, paper thin. I don't even know if I should save this, but at the same time I figure, you know what, why not try? Worst case scenario, we can always get a new one, which if I was to sandblast that thing, it would just fall into oblivion, so that's not gonna happen. Next up, these over here, these are the seat brackets. So these originally had the original seats on, and I had a hell of a time taking them off because they were seized beyond belief. There had been water in the car for many years, almost 5 decades, and these things had just rusted shut. I could not move them. It was such a pain in the butt to remove them. Ended up putting these in a special concoction, and guess what? They all move. Now they look kind of ugly because I didn't treat them afterwards, but they work. And it was done very cheap. And the way it was done is the next thing we're gonna talk about actually, this thing right here. Don't know if I really wanna put my hand in there, it looks nasty. Whoa, look at that. Look at that, that's insane. Like, look how rusty that was. And then this is just completely gone, and it works. Put these things in, and then we gotta get started on the next project. If you are looking at this and you're saying, wow, that looks disgusting, it's because it is. What's in here is something that should have been in there for 3 weeks, and instead it stayed in there for over a year. Kind of the way it goes on these projects, you leave something, you forget about it, and next thing you know, a year has gone by. I have no idea what it looks like, but it smells disgusting. So let's try it. Yuck, that is absolutely disgusting. I was told to use apple cider vinegar, so this is what it is. Put my parts in that are hard to sand for 3 weeks and take them out. I was not told to leave them in for a year. So this is the mess we got on our hands. I don't even know what this chunky stuff is. Ew. Look at that, it's really, really gross. Okay, well, I don't even know if these are still gonna be in good shape after leaving them here so long, but let's take these out. Oh, that is gnarly. It smells wonderful. Look at that. Well, okay. Max, what did you get yourself into? Okay, that's really gross. We're gonna take these things out of here. That is absolutely putrid. Let me get rid of this shit. All right, I'm back. Well, you know, I can't actually talk that badly about it because check this out. Just to give you an idea of how much gunk was on this, look at this. That's crazy. It took off all that stuff without any work. All right, I'm just gonna take all this stuff and toss it in the bin and go wash it before we move on. All right, so after washing these down with soap and water, I have some findings. Check this out. These are actually pretty damn clean now, I gotta tell you. There's still rust, but in some areas, you can actually see that it's a little bit silver. So I'm impressed. The paint didn't come off, but the rust did. Now, what happened was I unintentionally had something happen here. So I didn't have enough material, so I dunked some stuff like this part here. And check it out, all the rust came off, which is really nice. However, I didn't have enough to submerge it. So what happened was, if you look on this side here, you could see it's half submerged and half not. So you could actually see what the apple cider vinegar did. So it burned through that pretty well, I gotta tell you, you could see. Because if you look at the other one, it wasn't even submerged, and it's just gunky. So apple cider vinegar, did pretty well. Like, these were disgusting, so can't discount them. So what I think I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna try something I've used before, but I haven't used it in this case, so I'm gonna try Evapo-Rust. The difference with this stuff, it says that you could leave it for 24 hours and come back, so it doesn't require 3 weeks. So if you're a professional, which is something we're not, obviously, apple cider might be fine, but a professional might find a quicker way. Depending on the age of the rust, soak for at least 30 minutes for light rust, not the case at all, and 24 hours, up to 24 hours for stubborn rust. So now I'll leave it for at least 24 hours, and we'll come back to it. And now I'm gonna move on to something completely different. So the cowl vent is very brittle, it's not very thick. So what do we learn from the apple cider vinegar? It works on rust, doesn't work on paint. So this whole bottom area here, it's not painted. You know what, I think we gotta give vinegar another chance, but this time I'm gonna use something different. I'm gonna use just white vinegar, because that's what I got. And we're not submerging this thing. So I heard a little tip from my buddy Attila. He said, if you ever have any rusty areas, take some paper towels and lay them down. I did this with the Evaporust before. It didn't work really much at all. It wasn't very effective, but this could be different. I don't know, I have no idea. We're gonna try it. So the idea is you put paper towel all around, and you eventually take your vinegar and you just put it on. And you splash her on, and you do that for 7 days, and you come back every single day and add more. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna put more paper towel on until I'm totally happy with it, soak this bad boy, and we'll check it out in 7 days. Alrighty, so it's been a week since we put our vinegar on, and it's been a week that this has been sitting here. I definitely have something going on with the vinegar, because we can see some rust coming through the paper, but we'll take a look at that in a minute. First, what we're gonna do is open this guy up. Let's see what happened with this stuff. Let's take a look here. And wow! All right, look at that. Wow, look, that's really amazing. There is nothing on there. It's right down to the metal. Amazing. That really ate all the rust up. Huh. Okay, I'm pretty impressed by that. That stuff is, it definitely works. Now we have to remember the price difference of this and the other product is drastic, so I don't expect much results here. But we got something going on. Let's take a look. Not really happy with the result. It might have done something. Yeah, I could see some patches. Like, yeah, you know, there's some patches here. It did okay. So it definitely did some. But not very much. Here I wanted to have a better result. Maybe if had I submerged it, it would have done better, but I don't know. That's a really awkward part to work with. Even with the Rust-Oleum, Evaporust stuff or whatever, I couldn't even use this whole thing. I wouldn't be able to dip this in. You have a container this big, this would be huge. So I think this one we're gonna have to do by hand, much like the rad support, but that's the way she goes sometimes. All right, it's time to continue our experimentation. I was pretty impressed by this Rust-Oleum stuff, to the point where I ordered another 2 gallons. I want to give it a shot. I still have a lot of stuff to sand. I'm gonna show you. I think I have the ultimate test for this. These are the parts from the bumper, the cross members. They are pretty much as rusty as it gets. And I really do not feel like hand sanding all this stuff. I still have so many brackets and stuff. There's so much bracketry, so many nuts and bolts and whatnot. If I could put this stuff somewhere and have it do the work by itself, that would be great. I still have to do the inner fenders, the outer fenders, the hood, the trunk, the doors, the outside of the car. There's still a lot of work. I have probably another year of body work on this car, so any amount of time I could save, I'm gonna do it. So that's what we're gonna try and do. The difference is, when I was using the apple cider vinegar, it takes like weeks to get any sort of results. Buying these 2 was about $100. If that could save me some time in the end, I think it's worth the money. Pour in the honey. Probably should be wearing safety glasses, so I'll just use my safety squints. All right. Oh, it went right in my eyes, as if. Son of a gun. That's funny. right, put our brackets into the bubble bath. Go for a swim, boys. Probably could have used a couple more gallons, but oh well, it is what it is. All right, I put the bin away. All I'm gonna do for the next couple days is just keep swapping parts in and out and see how it works. Look what we got. We got a helper today. We got bobbies. It's the bobbies. So we're gonna do an experiment today. We're gonna do some science. It's been 2 days since we put down this stuff, but we got water here. You said you wanted to clean it?
Yes. I need to do shoveling that.
You're gonna shovel the water? That's a new idea. Good job. Okay, Molly. Don't you jump off on me.
Meliste. It's old water.
No, it's not water. Hey, Bobbies, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Engineer.
You want to be an engineer? Wow, you're already smart enough to be an engineer. Molly, what do you think?
Let's open this.
This is the one that was super rusty. Whoa, Bobbies, look at that. Look at this.
It's super clean.
It is. That's actually pretty incredible. Like, you
It's
see
not
that?
rusty.
No, that is the paint underneath. You see it? And that was the rust. So it took it off. It's not going to take paint off, obviously, but that looks pretty good.
Let's
look at that.
Put it on side. Let's put it on side.
Okay, let's put it on the side. Okay, let's take a look at another one.
Another one.
Okay, pull it out. Yeah. Yucky, eh? Wow, good job. Look at that. That worked really well.
It's not rusty.
No. Okay. Oh, I still have to sand it. I didn't think the original paint was underneath, but oh well. Okay, this one's gonna be the gross one. Okay, this one still needs some time. The heavy rust here hasn't quite done its job yet, but there, it's really good. Good job, buddy. Oh, look, Mama's here.
Open the door for her. Oh, what's that? Nice, smell like you flower.
It's very nice. Everyone's doing something fun today.
A nice dog.
We're done for we're gonna go have fun now. We can go outside. Oh no, don't put that in there. We're putting this in now. This is gonna do its job. Good job, high five.
I'm gonna do more science.
Oh, even more science. I don't have anything left. In the meantime, I'm gonna get back to work and I'm gonna deal with the bane of my existence, and that's this Chevy 8.5 rear end. Now, this is rust that has formed in about 5 months after getting it down to bare metal. But what this does, it gives us the ability to test something. So I've been using Ospho a lot for removing rust and getting panels ready. But what I've done is I've done a lot of drill use. I was using different brushes and whatnot. What I want to do is I want to take Ospho and I want to see if I can remove all this rust. For this stuff, I got some eye protection, got some gloves. Really don't want to screw around. This is phosphoric acid. I really don't want to put this in the wrong area. So one thing about this stuff is I've used it on really heavy rust. Where I haven't used it was on lighter rust. So I'm really curious to see how it's gonna do on something lighter like this that's just appeared over the last couple of months. Sure looks like it's doing something. Let's take a look. Well, would you look at that? Okay, that's pretty good. Let's try this area here. This is a lot deeper, a lot coarser, so this will be a better challenge for it. Actually, I really should dip first, put it on, and here I need more. And I'm not trying to make the stuff run all over the place. I just want to have enough to cover it, and we want to remove the spillage afterwards. It's not like the sandblaster did a perfect job on this before. Wow, not bad at all. You can do this as many times as you want. And the cool part about this product is I don't have to remove all the black. The whole idea is to convert this rust into a paintable surface. So we want to remove as much as we can, and the rest of it will turn black and it can be painted. That's the nice trick about this stuff. Okay, using a bit more force this time. Like I'm really scrubbing this time. And look how muddy that is. Okay, now let's wipe it off. I gotta say, overall, I'm pretty impressed. You know, I've used this stuff a lot, but it just never ceases to amaze me how well it works. So, After this is done, let it sit for 24 to 72 hours. I've heard 72 hours is better. And then afterwards, taking some lacquer thinner and going over it with lacquer thinner, reduce the acidity. And then at that point, it could be primed. So that's pretty cool. I think what I'm gonna do now is just take the time to cover this thing, remove as much rust as I can, and just get it finished. So there we go, and wow, what a difference. This thing looks amazing. You know, I was looking at pictures of this thing after I had sandblasted, and arguably I'd say it actually looks better now than it did after the sandblasting. So I'm really impressed by this. Unbelievable what 1 hour of work can do. I did have to use a wire brush with a little attachment here, just in a couple areas, and other than that, it did really well. So this is cool. So now I can leave it, put some thinner on, and eventually just paint it. So this is cool. This project is done. Moving on to the next one. And all while working on the car, every few days, I come here and I rotate my parts. Like, take a look at that. Like here specifically, if you look, you can see where it wasn't dunked, the rust is still there. Where it was dunked, it's exposed the paint, same on this side. So in terms of rust removal, this Rust-Oleum stuff is working great. I'm just gonna keep, you know, flipping around and putting it in, dunking it. You know, I'm not doing any manual work on this. This is just doing the work for me. The less time I spend with manual labor, the more efficient I am on the rest of my job. I got so much to do. Check it out. I got one part that's completely been treated. That, my friends, is pretty freaking clean. Look at that. Now all I gotta do is take a wire brush, sand it, get it back down to metal, and away we go. Maybe there's an easier way. So I read about a hack. I don't know if it works, but we're gonna try it out. That's what this is about. Somebody said to grab Easy Off oven cleaner. Spray it on, put it in a baggie, and see what happens. I have no idea, but we're gonna give it a shot. It's sizzling, that's a good sound. Rub it in. In you go. I have no clue. We will see. Put that aside. Move on, next part. So after testing a series of non-invasive techniques and tricks, we're kind of left with having to hand sand something. I think I just got to do it by hand. You know, I've gone strangely kind of attached this thing because it's the roughest thing on the whole car. I know a lot of people will just replace this, but I'm trying to save as much of the original metal as possible, and I don't know if it could be saved. So what I'm going to do is just use a bunch of different brushes and attachments and see what we can do and see if we can save this thing. All right, after a couple of hard hours of breathing in the dust, I would say we have achieved success. Check it out. This thing totally could be saved. Ended up just savable. It was pretty pitted in some areas, but now I know that this piece can be saved. The other side, I'm not worried about it. This is just mostly paint. I could still see the factory paint underneath. I'll sand it off when it's time. Not doing that today. I'm gonna do it when I have all my epoxy primer. I don't have any here right now, but I will be putting Ospho on this side just to protect it. We'll get it in Ospho, and that way it won't rust anymore, but at least I have a peace of mind knowing that this thing can be saved. I even took the time to sand a little bit on the other side just to make sure it's not getting through. I went in the roughest area, so that's awesome. Another one saved, and all thanks to the wire brush. It did a great job in this case. Well, this Rad Sport is in a lot worse condition than I expected. I actually took the time to take it all apart. I removed all the bolts, put everything in baggies, labeled everything so I make sure I know where everything goes when I put it back together. Took off the grill just so we can get it ready for restoring, and unfortunately the Rad Sport has a lot of issues. There's some structural issues, rust has really got to it, so this thing is a bit of a rebuild. Turns out it's too big of a job to tackle right now, so we're gonna have to put this on hold. In the meantime, we can take the hood latch and all the other pieces, all the weird kind of shaped things that are difficult to restore. We can dunk everything in our solution, get all the rust off, get it all restored. So when it comes time to work on this thing, we'll be all ready to go. It's just about efficiency. Sometimes you gotta jump around more than you expected. Alrighty, back to the science experiment. You know, I've spent the whole day taking the Rad Support apart. And let's see if this did anything, if this is worth it, or if I just made it a bigger mess. I have no idea. If you take a look at it, it doesn't seem like it's done a whole hell of a lot, but I haven't touched it, so let's take a look. Okay. See, some of the black has stayed in the bag. That's a good sign. Let's take a look here. Look at that. That is gooey. Paint's still on it though, but it seems like it's come off a little bit. Let's rub a little bit. Okay, well look at that. Wow, never mind. Holy schnitzel, that's not bad at all. Okay, it's not all coming off, but it certainly has done something. Let's see now. Okay. That, my friends, I can't say it doesn't work. I'm not sure how long it's supposed to be in there for. It's been in there for probably about 4 hours, I'd say. Look at that. That's not terrible. Let's check the other side. Oh yeah. Me likey. Okay, well I'm pleasantly surprised. I wasn't actually expecting it to work that well. I was expecting that maybe it would do something, but that's actually really good. And that's awesome because we gotta strip a lot of things. And the thing about paint strippers, when I looked into it, paint strippers these days aren't amazing because back in the day they had paint strippers with methylene chloride, which was really strong. It worked well, it took everything off. However, methylene chloride is extremely bad. It's extremely cancerous, cause cognitive impairment, and actually asphyxiation. So this is a really dangerous product. You really don't want to use it. I didn't want to go that route. I didn't find it was worth it to use anything of that matter. So using some, oven cleaner, I can't see that going wrong. I think I'm going to spray all the parts I can get in a bag, put them in, and just, let it do its thing. This is awesome. All right, so we're back to our science experiment. It's actually been a couple days. We have bins everywhere, so now it's just time to get some conclusive results on all this stuff. At the same time, I dunked the hood latch assembly, and that did a really good job. Still a little bit of rust on there, but overall, most of it's gone. Looks pretty clean. We'll put that back in. We'll swap all these parts out, but for now, let's do something else. We got all our baggies here with all of our different parts. I just want to see how good of a job the oven cleaner did on this really heavy stuff. Okay. Main thing is I don't want to have to sand all these pieces, so let's see. Oh wow, look at that. That's all coming off, no problem. And there's 2 coats of paint here. Got the secondary paint and the original. Wow, look at that. Wow, that is working really well. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna spend a few minutes, clean this up by hand, get as much of the paint off as I can without any actual sanding, and we'll see how this thing looks. All right, after spending 15 minutes on a wire brush and then just using soap and water, let's inspect this thing. Overall, I gotta tell you, it looks pretty darn good. There's still some paint, but honestly, I didn't have it dipped in long enough. If you look at the area where it wasn't dipped at all, this area, it hasn't come off at all, whereas this area is stripped. So you could really see the difference of what the oven cleaner did. honestly, it didn't do a bad job for what it is. In terms of rust, the Rust-Oleum does a good job. This was only in for a very short time. So I think I'm gonna take this, dip it back in the Rust-Oleum, both sides, once all the rust is gone, then do the oven cleaner again. But overall, I gotta tell you, for something that looked like it was lying on the bottom of the ocean for 100 years just a few days ago, this is looking pretty darn good. This is super cool. Back in the chemical vat you go. We're just gonna keep swapping them out. I wish I had more of this stuff, which is what takes me so long in the first place, but at least I can have some progress while I do other stuff. Drop them in our concoction. This is the great thing. We're working right now. Okay, let's get this one, which wasn't sealed. Now this piece does not appear to have very much rust. It's all paint, so we could really see the effectiveness of this. And look at that. It just comes right off. All right, it's not perfect, but I'll show you. It's not terrible. I'm not happy that that's enough progress. So instead of the plastic baggie, I decided to try a bin just to see if that works any differently. It would be a lot easier if this works, plus you can get way bigger bins. So we ended up using this piece here. This is from the radiator and from the headlights. Take a look here. Okay. Oh wow, that works really well. Like all the paint came off. Okay. Lots of rust now that I've exposed it, but man, the paint just really came off. Let's try this one. Whoa, it comes off so easily. Look at that. Okay, I think we found the way to go, folks. Look at that. So what does that tell us? Screw the baggies. Let's just keep reusing bins. So I'm gonna spray everything, put it in bins. I'm not gonna use the baggies. They don't work as well. So I'll get a nice big bin, spray it, put everything in there, and that's pretty much it. That is wicked. Okay, last thing I'm gonna do is grab a piece that I already had Easy Off on before and just see what the second round looks like cleaning it. The second pass in the Easy Off really made all the difference. Look at that. This is great. No sanding, no dust, no crap in my lungs. Boom. That is awesome. Freaking oven cleaner. I cannot believe that. All right, I believe we've done enough experimentation to have some conclusive results, and this is what we're left with. This is quite impressive. So let's start over here. So this was just the Evapo-Rust. This was completely rusted, if you remember. You can't even see the paint underneath. So these turned out really good. These pieces are really nice. I think just putting on some oven cleaner and putting them in the bin, that will be fine. Now moving on this side, the old barnacle metal. Now this is the craziest part because this was so rough. The oven cleaner made a huge difference. Just the Rust-Oleum, we didn't even have it in that long. We could put it back in, but you could see a massive difference. It's just unbelievable. This is one of those things we're just gonna keep dipping it until it's done, because I know it could be pretty much perfect once it's been there long enough. Which brings me to the next place. So over here, the headlights and the rad brackets. So these were put in the Rust-Oleum, then they were put in the oven cleaner, and this is just one round, and look at that. You can see most of the metal. You can actually see the rust coming out. So what that means is these pieces need to be put back in the Rust-Oleum and then the oven cleaner again. And then finally these ones here, this is with 2 rounds of the oven cleaner, 1 round of Rust-Oleum, and you can see it is almost perfect, which is unbelievable. And this is the headlight. And honestly, the only difference between these two is the fact that I took soap and water and washed these. So now this one's exposed, most of the paint's off. You can see all those hard to reach areas. I don't have to use any brushes. The best part about it, all this stuff here you see, there's absolutely no brush marks because I didn't sand it. I didn't use any abrasives. This is just dipping the liquids. This is saving our time. I don't want to do this by hand. Now that I know this is working, this is what I'm going to do. And I think the next thing to do is just figure out how to keep getting more efficient. The first thing is to ditch the baggies. No baggies, just big bins, dunk it in whatever solution you want to use it, put it in, and away you go. We're just gonna keep going with this over and over while we're working on other parts. We still have so many other things to work on around the shop, but in the meantime, we've saved a lot of time and a lot of money. This is really cool.